Welcome back to Model Kit Stuff, and what will be our last video on Airfix's 1/350 scale Type 45 destroyer, which we've modelled as HMS Dragon. So on this video we're just gonna be finishing it up, going through some of the finishing touches, minor details, and we'll have a little bit of chat about the journey, pros and cons of the model, and so on. Let's start with what we've done since the last video. So we have finished the detail around the bridge roof area. Now I actually found a really good photograph of HMS Dragon and ended up changing some of the paint on here. So the big dome in the middle that's grey, it's not a mistake, it's correct. I'd originally put it on as white, but it is now in the ghost grey the rest of the ship is in. And the little radars have been picked out in white, which is also correct. You perhaps can't see it so well on camera, but the two aerials, which were made out of some metal wire, are also painted white, which seems to be correct. So what else have we done? Well, we've put the little decal on the front, which has got the coat of arms of the ship on it, which is something that all Royal Navy ships have. So we've done that. We've finished painting in the yard arms and the items going up that. I've still got a little bit of touch up to do. You can see a little bit of brass showing through there, but that just needs doing. We have painted in the railing there as well, and as you know, we painted that in after we'd put it in. What's not included in the Atlantic railing kit, but is noticeable when you look at photographs, is that there's like a safety line that goes from where the railing stops to the breakwater. So I actually you're going to need a little piece of wire or scrap brass or something for that. I actually used what Trumpeter had put in their kit for the aerials that I replaced with wire on the bridge roof, and they just happened to be the perfect size, so get in. And they've been painted in black, they're not the same grey. We have part of the jack staff. I've managed to knock the top off, so that needs to go back on. So 4 jack staff's gone on, and that's been painted in Vallejo's orange brown, which is as near as damn it an exact colour match to the real thing. Okay, you're probably noticing we've done something with the water, but we'll come back to that in a minute. And then what we've also done, and I'll just zoom in a bit there, is we have gone around all the doors and put a little red triangle on the top right corner of each door. Actually, it's the opening edge corner, which is something that has been done on some of the ships. Some photos have them, some don't, so I'm guessing it's a more recent update, but it just adds a little bit of colour, so I wanted to do that. And then you'll also see, as I just go around the ship, we've put some warning signs on. Now on YouTube there's a couple of nice walk rounds of HMS Duncan, so I used that as a reference for some of the warning signs. And then as we get to the stern, we now have a helicopter on there. Now this isn't the helicopter that comes with the kit. The one that comes with the kit is a perfectly good representation of the helicopter, but it's solid windows, and this is the one that was included in the Trumpeter kit. So again, the advantage with the Airfix kit is you get the 2 different types of helicopter, whereas Trumpeter just gives you this one. Now I have a little bit of a problem with it. They do these aircraft all in clear plastic, and they're so hard to light. You can't see where the seams are and things like that until you put some paint down. So they're a bit difficult to make. I don't understand why they don't just do some clear parts for the windows. It'd be easy enough to do, but anyway, They do it in clear, but the end result, once they're painted up, is really quite nice. Whereas with the Airfix ones, you're going to have to paint the windows in a grey or a black or whatever you're going to choose. So it just gives you a slightly better finish. Now I don't know whether you can buy that as a kit separately. I know Trumpeter do quite a few of their aircraft kits separately. Whether you can get this one, I don't know. So it's not worth buying the Trumpeter kit just for the helicopter, because the rest of it you're pretty much going to throw away, because as we've said, the hull of the Trumpeter kit is wrong and is too short, and all the fittings are over scale, so the phalanx guns over scale. The CCTV cameras, which they have for the rear deck, are the size of 2 people, so they're about 8 foot long, so that can't be right. And it's like all their lights as well. So if we put here, there's this little bit that sticks out here from the deck is a little lamp. On the Trumpeter kit, they're about 3 times the size. So yeah, just don't do it. Right, so the last thing we've done is with the water. So in the last video we glued it in place. It slipped out of my hands and I dropped it, which is why this ladder's missing, but we'll come back to that. So what we've done is we've glued it down, and we've used a product called Still Water, which is from AK, and it dries and it gives you a slightly rubbery to the touch, and it has given it a very nice wet look. I was hoping it'd give it a bit more depth than it's done, and it has also created 1 or 2 little air bubbles, so you need to be aware of that. Like I said, I've not used it on something large scale before. I've only ever used it for puddles and streams and things. It also did crack the paint in a couple of areas, but I think the paint hadn't perhaps fully dried, so that's my fault rather than the product. Now the other thing you can see is we've put the wake in, and all that is a bit of toilet tissue paper cut into strips, dampened, not soaked, but just dampened, and then sculpted into shape with some tweezers. So that is then been put in and just left to dry. So at the moment that's not glued down, and what we're going to do is we're going to go over with some varnish, and that varnish will just lock it into place. So a little bit more work to do on that. You can see we've done that with the little ship's boat, and you know, this is the first seascape I've done. I was thinking about this the other day. For 20 years, last time I did it I used polyfiller to make it. So yeah, I think it's probably only the second seascape I've ever done. I usually do full hull, but this was for a club build which had some rules around it. So there you go, that's where we're up to now. What we've got left to do, we've got some touching up to do. We've got to put the ladder back in place. We need to repair the jack staff. And then I want to go around and do a little bit of very light weathering, really just detail highlighting. So on the sea-to-air missile silos, for example, just pick out some of the detail in places, but not massively weather it. You can, if you look at some pictures of them when they've been at sea for a while, they get a little bit grimy down the radon tower. So you could put a bit of grey pastel down there. I might do that. I'll see how I feel, and I've got some grills left to pick out, and then finally we're going to use a couple of frets of Edwards 1350 figures. So I've got Royal Navy figure set there, and these are actually US carrier figures, but I thought they look quite good using them on the flight deck. So that's where we're up to, that's where we've got to do. Let's go and have a look at how that comes together. So let's just have some shots of the finished build, and then we'll just talk through what we did towards the end. Okay, so this is the Airfix kit. I also had the trumpeter kit, if you recall from the introduction video. 95% of this kit is better than the trumpeter kit. So just a very quick reminder, the hull is too short on the trumpeter kit and all the fittings are pretty much oversized. Having said that, the fit of the trumpeter kit is much nicer. So the detail on this kit, particularly on the sides of the various different components, is much greater and much more accurate. So the shapes of the vents are correct, the doors are in the correct position, nothing's really oversized. So Airfix did a really great job of doing a detailed representation. So if you're considering building a Type 45 destroyer, absolutely get the Airfix one. Now we have used a couple of trumpeter parts on this. We used the ship's boat arm there, that came from the trumpeter kit, but with some modifications. It would be easy just to use some plastic card to do your own. And the gun and signal lamps and bits and pieces, which are moulded into the splinter shield with the Airfix kit, just looked a bit nicer as separate items. We've also used the trumpeter radars on the front, but again, so easy to make your own. You know, I used them because I could. I wouldn't recommend you buying both the kits just so you can use bits from both. It's just not worth it. I just happen to have them. So, what did we do since the last video? Well, one thing we've done is we've gone round with a wash. So the wash was AK's dark Washford grade Dex, I think it's called, and that really brings out some of the recessed detail. I didn't want to have the ship looking grimy. People have billeted off all the time to go and clean these things and keep it ship shape, if you were. So I didn't want it too grimy. I just wanted to add a little bit of shadow and just make the detail pop out a little bit. And you can see, if we look at that shot there, below the main mast, you can see the detail pops out. So yeah, we did that. We also finished off the seascape. So let's just talk through the seascape. So the frame is a deep picture frame that we bought from one of the art shops. The sea is watercolour artist's paper that's been glued down. We then went through a process of selecting some colours, and this is a combination of 3 colours which have been put down in different layers to try and get some depth. The wash that you can see there, so we did some white dry brushing over the top to get the light effect here, again to try and add some depth. And then this the weight from the bow and what have you is all done with tissue paper soaked in water and then varnished over the top. And we've tried to do that down the ship to show some movement, and then we've got the wake at the end. And then we've done exactly the same process with the ship's boat that's out at sea there. I'm not 100% happy with it. My disclaimer on the seascape is it's the first one I've done for 20 years and the second one I've done ever. So yeah, I can see where I could improve it. I did put on AK still water on top. I'm not sure I'd do that again. It has caused me a couple of problems with bubbles in just 2 or 3 places. But what you've ended up with is like a rubbery feel. It does make it look wet. It absolutely makes it look wet, but I could achieve that with several layers of varnish, to be honest. So yeah, I'll keep using that for puddles, but not necessarily for seascapes in the future. Yeah, so highlights of the kit are the flexibility. You've got the ability to build any of the 6 Type 45 destroyers that the Navy has in its fleet. It has a really nice open bridge, and you can see there that looks really good once it's glazed. Yeah. So the etch and the additional decals came from Atlantic Models. We've painted as authentically as we can using reference material of photographs of HMS Dragon and other Type 45 destroyers, but one of the key things in the painting was these little domes here, which are the only ones that aren't white. They were, if you remember, we mixed a little bit of light green in and made them slightly greeny colour. When you look at reference pictures, that's what they look like. So the main paint, the grey, is Ghost Grey, which is the Humbrol colour. The dark grey decks again is Humbrol, I think off the top of my head 127, which is what is called for in the instructions. The black is Vallejo. And then the interior of the hangar, let's just have a look. And the helicopters were another Vallejo. I wanted a contrasting grey. Can't really see in, I can't light it up, but yeah. The flags are Edwards etched steel flags. Both the flag on Dragon and on the ship's boat. And the figures are also Edward. I might put 1 or 2 more figures on, but at this stage I'm feeling a bit less is more. So there we have it. HMS Dragon, Type 45 destroyer in a Mediterranean style sea, about to recover its ship's boat. Hope you enjoyed the build. There's more builds coming along. Thank you very much for looking in. Stay well, and I hope to see you all again soon.